First up, the big story. Guwahati High Court's Chief Justice had slammed cops for bulldozer action on houses of suspects in the name of investigation. Coming down heavily on senior cops, the High Court said without any order, cops cannot uproot a person, and even senior cops need to pass through gamut of law. The High Court added cops bulldozing houses with a search warrant is unheard of, and that nobody is safe in this country if such actions are in fact allowed. All right, we have a few guests joining us on the show on the story. We have Arshpreet Khadial, Congress spokesperson, as well as Ashwani Kumar Dubey, an advocate, joining us. Mr. Dubey, to you first. Guwahati High Court, of course, coming down heavily on the cops, questioning the action of cops bulldozing houses of certain accused, certain suspects. Now, the question being asked is, under which law is this allowed? That's what the court is asking. So how can police exceed their powers to go ahead and demolish a house under the guise of investigation when they have no right to do it? So isn't this violation, one, of fundamental right to live, one? And secondly, doesn't it look more vengeful than procedural?
Indeed, it's a violation of fundamental right of an individual if it is found that the police has acted beyond the powers, means the due process of law has not been followed, because before demolishing the house of any citizen, due process of law has to be followed. Involvement in the crime does not mean that his property will be demolished. If the dispute is pertaining to property also, then also a proper court order is required and notice has to be served on the concerned person. But demolition of a property without notice or for a different crime has no legality in the eyes of law. Even if the person, as per the criminal jurisprudence, even if the person involved has committed heinous crime, that does not mean government can go ahead and demolish the property. For punishing the person involved in the crime, the competent court has to pass necessary orders. Now, look, in the 44th Amendment to the Constitution of India, it did away the right to property as a fundamental right, but introduced Article 300A, which retained the right to property as a constitutional right as well. So Article 300A categorically states that no person shall be deprived his property save by the authority of law. And the Supreme Court followed that judgment. We have seen Municipal Corporation Bombay's case, we have seen in Menka Gandhi Union of India's case, due process of law has to be followed. So if notice has been served and the property is found to be constructed or raised in a premises which is a government land, then and after serving a due notice, due procedure of law, you can demolish. In a criminal jurisprudence during the investigation, when court has not reached to any conclusion, the demolition of property is of course bad in the law. And that is why exactly Honorable High Court says that, look, the procedure which you are following, you don't act beyond the procedure of the law. If you are doing it, it means that you are not following the law. And I think that Honorable High Court has rightly said, so far as the Honorable Guwahati High Court judgment we see, the order or the observation which came yesterday we see. But the rest of the cases, we have to see whether the due process law in this matter has been followed or not. And second, if it is found that without the process of law, illegally, in a vendetta politics, to patronize the state, if house has been demolished, then state should compensate that person. That is the law. Fundamental principle of natural justice and facet of the rule of law has to be followed. Over to you.
Right. So you're saying due process of law has to be followed, procedure has to be followed, which is why the High Court has, of course, come down heavily on the police. In fact, let me go across to Arshpreet Khadial. In fact, we also have Rajalakshmi Joshi also joining us. Before I come to you, Ms. Joshi, Arshpreet, my question to you is, of course, this is obviously a huge embarrassment for the state government because, in a sense, the court has come down heavily on the police, which means the court has come down heavily on the state government. Question is, what action will you seek? Will you demand from the government in order to take action against these errant police officials who ordered, in terms of who ordered the demolition and so on? So many also believe that the accused and their family, we know that they are accused, they are suspect and so on. But many believe that, the families were also suffered innocence. So they need to be duly compensated. What is your demand at the moment?
Let's understand what this thing is all about. This is a criminal act. There has to be criminal liability. Only suspending the officers would not be sufficient. There has to be a stern action taken against them, and they have to be prosecuted under the relevant sections of the IPC. Number two, in plain words, this act is a travesty of justice. There is no ambiguity about that. Now, let's understand one thing. I am sitting at my place, at my house. There are people watching this very debate from their own houses. House is that very place, where you feel safe, where you feel comfortable. And if that one safe in the world where you live with your family, with your children, with your mother, with your wife, that place is demolished. And for what? Because you were to be investigated. Now, they have to also understand what the law is all about. Investigation does not mean you're guilty. Even if something is found from your house during the investigation, you're still not guilty. The principle of natural justice says one is to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. So, therefore, there is no right of the police to demolish anyone's house. Even in order to conduct a search at somebody's house, you need a warrant. So therefore, there is no excuse to this. There is no, whataboutery to this. It is, in plain words, a travesty of justice that has happened, and stern action has to be there so that an example can be set up. And number three, we have to also understand one thing, that the people who are supporting this, do they have any justification as to where is it written that any police officer can do it? Or if it's not directly written, is there even an implied interpretation for that? In nowhere, in no law, in no criminal jurisprudence is it mentioned that a police officer can do that. So therefore, we demand that all these police officers be sacked as soon as possible, and a criminal case be made out against them. And the government should apologize. They should compensate the families that have suffered at the cost at the hands of the police. And I think the government also has some sort of involvement in this, because the police, the executive, works at the behest of the legislature. And if the government does not do anything about this, I think that goes on to suggest that the government, was in favor of the act. So one, the government should apologize. They should compensate the families, and they should start an investigation against these police officers, and therefore register a case against them so that they can be punished accordingly.
Right, Arshdeep. So let's go across to Rajalakshmi Joshi there. Ms. Joshi, of course, Arshdeep says this is nothing but travesty of justice, and that these police officials should be punished, should be sacked. State government should initiate action against them because they had no right to do what they did. Ms. Joshi, what is your take on it? Don't you think this is nothing but misuse of power? This is, some sort of vengeance. Of course, we know for a fact that these people were accused because they had torched a police station, and which is why, as a vengeful act, it looks like it as a vengeful act, they go ahead and, in the guise of investigation and seizure, they go ahead and demolish the house when they had no right or orders to do it. So how do you take this entire matter? What is your take on it?
Good evening. I think this is a very complicated and a very tricky issue. The persons involved in this, they are accused of arson and nothing less than setting ablaze a police station on fire. But I am not in any way supporting or defending anybody who has demolished or created some kind of injustice to the families of anybody. But I'm also asking, nowadays I have seen this strange precedent by the courts where they seem to be actually speaking in favor of everybody other than the people who are actually suffering from, all their acts. Like they will speak for the rights of the rapists, they will speak for the rights of the arsonists. And, this seems to be a very strange precedent, which I don't understand. They could have said that this is something wrong and it should not be done. But at the same time, the kind of words that are being used, I think the courts also should be a little sensitive about what they are saying, and so that, it doesn't look like they are encouraging people. Like when they talk about, every sinner has a future, or when they say that the police are not authentic, of who actually is responsible.
Right. So we are seeming to have some issue in connecting with Ms. Joshi. So, if I can go across to Arshpreet once again. Arshpreet, Ms. Joshi there is saying that this, the court is speaking in favor of the accused. This is setting a wrong precedent, and sometimes these actions are needed to scare wrongdoing and so on. How do you respond to that?
I think she has clearly forgotten the saying, an eye for an eye would blind the whole world. Vigilantism cannot be answered by vigilantism. If somebody took the law into their hands, they did an act, they have done a wrong, does not mean you have to reciprocate that in the same fashion, in a similar way. Because if you do that, then there is no difference between the both of you. And even if a murder takes place, you do not go ahead and commit a murder of that person. You rather let the law take its course, let the trial take its place, let him get proven guilty, and then the legal course takes its place and he gets punished. Life imprisonment or death penalty or whatever the court deems fit. And that is what should happen in all the cases. You cannot answer a wrong by doing another wrong. Number two, the person who spoke before me said that they had set ablaze a police station. They are the accused. Why did the court speak in their favor? Let's understand one thing. One, it is an individual who has done that. There was no fault of his wife, his mother, his kids, that they have suffered their house, that they have lost their house. It's now been turned into, ashes. And number two, even if he, is an accused, he's still not guilty. He has not been proven guilty by the court of law. He is to be presumed innocent. And even if he turns out to be guilty, even if he gets punished, then also you cannot go ahead and, set ablaze his house or break his house, demolish his house into pieces. Let's understand what the law is all about. And like I said, if anyone wants to support what the police officers did, show us the law. Show us one word that says it is allowed in any criminal jurisprudence, in any IPC,
right.
in any CRPC. Because there's a reason as to why we have written rules, written laws. We have a constitution that is written. We have an IPC that is written. We have a criminal procedure code that is written, so that nobody can act according to their whims and fancies. And everybody, has to go by that. And that's why we are asking, if there is no justification, if there is no mention of it, then you cannot be in favor of it, plain as a day.
Right. Ms. Joshi would like to respond. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I made it very clear that I am not defending or I am not justifying the demolition of the house. But all I am saying is that the court should have been a little more sensitive in not speaking in an encouraging tone, in saying that, they don't say anything that disapproves or discourages the accused. On the contrary, the kind of statements that are being made, that, the accused needs to be, there needs to be a psychological examination, every sinner has a future, all these kind of things. What happens is, these people, they tend to think that, oh, we can get away with a lot of things, that they tend to think that there are a lot of loopholes. The court should have come down saying that, yes, the demolition should have happened, not happened because of whatever reasons. But then at the same time, there should have been a strong word of some kind of admonition for what the people have done. That did not happen. There was a one way, there was just a fire in the favor of the police. There was nothing said to the accused. That I find shocking. That why is it that the accused need to be feeling that they came away victorious or something? That is a very wrong thing that is happening nowadays.
All right.
That I absolutely don't agree with that.
All right. So you're saying courts, whatever court said, should have been more sensitive and they shouldn't be supporting. In a way, you're saying that they were supporting the accused and their wrongdoing. However, Mr. Arshpreet and Ashwani Kumar Dubey saying that you cannot answer a wrong by doing another wrong. Police cannot exceed their powers or misuse their powers by taking vengeful actions. And that's what it looked like that has been done. Guwahati High Court, of course, slamming the cops over this action because they did not have the rights to do it. They did not have the orders to do it, which is why the cops, of course, under the scanner, they've been slammed. We're running out of time. Thank you, Rajalakshmi Joshi, Arshpreet Khadial, as well as Ashwani Kumar Dubey for joining us.